How was this film pitched to you? Because you were one of the first people, I think, to come on board, right? How did Ridley Scott or whoever, Dan O'Bannon or whoever pitched you this story idea? What do you remember about that initial pitch that kind of hooked you?
Unforgettable to not talk about it, not remember it. I was doing another film somewhere in the country, and I got this script that said Alien, and all I knew was that it was budgeted at $2 million at 20th Century Fox, and they had no director, nobody involved, and I wasn't able to read it really effectively knowing that. I thought it was a solid script because I'm a writer myself, so I can evaluate these things as I go along. But this was questionable at $2 million, that it might need to have a director like Ed Wood. So I said, I don't know, I can't give you an answer right now. Meanwhile, I had seen the film called The Duelist that was directed by an English director. It was his first film, and his name was Ridley Scott, and I remembered it because that I thought was a masterpiece visually, and I wanted to remember that director's name. And so the script came along, $2 million, no director, and I don't know if I want to do this, and I get a call a few weeks later, and they said the film has been kicked up to $10 million, and Ridley Scott, an Englishman on his second try as a filmmaker, had made it, and no question, no negotiation. I just was. That is the difference. It's a solid screenplay that is just a basically sound piece of storytelling, and a woman being the hero in the end. All of that really, I love that. And I learned how to behave with women and prize them much more by doing Turning Point just prior to that. I don't mean, again, though, I'm going beyond your question, but I said these things are all a build-up of male charisma, or whatever it is. But learn how to respect women in ballet in a way that I intend that on. Yes, it's green. So there was something about women in ballet that I just prized, the strength, the focus, the sacrifice very early on in their life to do this piece of mobile art, not for a lot of money, and give their youth to something like that. To me, that was, the grace of that was moved me quite a bit, enough that I enjoyed the idea of a woman being the hero of that. That was the one thing that really stayed with me about that. I really liked that, the little kinky, that unanticipated thing. And that was how I thought, until they said that it's going to be $10 million and Ridley Scott's going to direct it. Away I went.
So when you were working with Ridley Scott, I mean, before this, you would work with directors like Robert Altman and Hal Ashby, and you've also worked with really great directors like Cronenberg and Robert Zemeckis. I was just curious, with Ridley Scott, I mean, with all those directors, is there some sort of common thing that they have that helps you as an actor, working with them, that they all kind of share as being great directors, or are they all just complete individuals?
Well, they're all complete individuals, but they're going from their own frame of reference, and I talk a lot about frame of reference. If you have a narrow frame of reference, you ain't going to get much done in life, in particular. But generally speaking, not as a creator. You've got to have a frame of reference that just takes you off in different directions, and you've got to be able to have the guts to follow the direction. And it's that thing of these guys had that sense of the risk of possibilities in exercising the audacity of your imagination. They didn't necessarily direct actors, most of these guys. Ridley, the only thing he said to the actors once was when he was eyeballing, he was the camera operator for this. And that was everywhere he went, he kept throwing me little tidbits. I felt like the puppy following the guy throwing me little pieces of garlic or something as he went along and saying, I'm doing this for that, and I kept looking through the lens and saying, oh, I was learning I didn't know that he was such a master. You can't ever measure that degree except by time. And same thing with Altman, same way with Hal Ashby, some other directors. You just don't know until time goes by. It's like Van Gogh, he wasn't really successful at all until Kirk Douglas made a movie about it. And he took the prices out of the film, out of the painting system, now about $50 million for one film. You just never know where these things are going, but you have a feeling that you're with something special, and that's all you can do about that. Predicting what's going to happen in the future with it, how are you going to do that? Unless you're already in the future. But then you learn how to tell what the future is going to be given by how many times that instinct that you had at the time, which I had with Altman, which you had to Hal Ashby and Ridley Scott in particular, and Tony Scott, when I knew he was going to do Top Gun, I knew I was going to have to do that one. So that one I worked on trying to get that. Woo! It's just, all of us really have to be willing to take the risk of possibilities. And I've seen myself taking a risk with a director who doesn't know when to tell me what to do, or give me something, some guidance, and I look at that as a terrible performance, is my own evaluation. I felt that over and over again. I'm most haunted by how bad I can be.
I think we all are, right?
But not like guys like you, you're bad all the time. I can
I'm curious. We did not know this was actually the director's cut of this film.
Yeah.
And so the big moment that they put back in is showing what happened to Dallas. And I'm curious what you think of that scene. What do you think of it being cut, and what do you think of it being put back in?
You're talking about the eggshell eating the egg.
Right. Yeah.
The egghead. Well, I remember having a conversation with him because I must have been a poor for him. I was forever asking, why are you using that lens? Explain it. And then I'd say, why in the structure of this piece? I asked him obscure questions, one of which is, how do we bridge this conceptualization thing of each beginning, at the beginning of the birth, and how is that inseminated? What's that process? The process, as we saw it, is fertilizing this embryo, but it doesn't really track through. And I'm thinking like this. He says, Skerrit, yeah, this is just, I'm gonna scare them so much they won't know a damn thing. That's the way he went about it. But, in that one scene, I thought, well, isn't that she's gonna be running out, I was gonna say, she's running after a cat. We know this thing is gonna blow up in so many seconds. Get her off that ship. And she stops and starts having a conversation with this guy being eaten by and he's saying, kill me. What? And she's after him, and then goes and looks for the cat again. Am I right?
But it was a very cute cat, though.
It was. Yeah, we appreciate that she rescued the cat and brought it back. But the interesting thing is that it didn't dawn on me that the cat would be fertilized. Right. It was the only thing that we knew most likely, and all the living, there had to be a living system, organism of some kind for that thing, for that process to happen. So anyway, pace is really where it really came down to. And he said, his response to my questioning him is, well, I'm paid to shoot it. And he was ahead of schedule and he was bringing it on the budget, so he figured he had a little latitude. And I understood that as a director. Yeah, you do, having directed a few things where I'm under schedule, under budget, Alvin taught me that, was you just futz around a little bit. And they may say, oh, you're burning too much footage, it's costing us $100,000 more, but I was saving you $150,000, so you should, that argument transpires, so it gets really petty, but. Well, I'm just chatting my way. I'm right, so I don't say anything during the day. So here I am shooting my mouth off about anything. What's you got? No, I don't have 12 children. I've got 10 altogether with grandkids.
Well, one of the things that's great about the movie, and because I was watching it again a few days ago, is just how even though it doesn't quite advertise it as such, I mean, it just completely subverts every possible genre expectation that one could have had for a film of this sort. Not just in 1979, but I mean, today even. I mean, beyond Sigourney Weaver, turning out to be the hero. For example, we expect early on, that right as the movie starts, that your character is going to be like the big hero type. I mean, good God, your name is Gallus. You can't get more manlier of a name than Gallus and all that. And then, about 70 minutes in, you're gone. We don't even see you die. You get a big jump cut, but we don't actually see you die. So we are all expecting, okay, you're going to come out at the end and you're going to blow the alien up, and then you're going to give Sigourney Weaver a big old smooch and fly back to Earth. And no, you're dead. You're gone. Well, until the director's cut. But beyond that, I mean, it just plays with it all the way through. I mean, because there's certainly, we were talking about this earlier, that there are certain rhythms that in a genre rhythms that you kind of get used to, and this movie just basically messes with all of those things, so you can never really get. You can never really settle into it. You can never really get, sort of easy with it. So that's why, even though you may have seen it a dozen times over the years, it can still scare the living shit out of you after a while.
And it's what you don't see.
Right.
That happened, and the first time I really saw that when I was a kid was a film called The Thing. A long time ago. And one thing I've learned about writing is just suggest things and don't tell, and you're going to be engaged by what you don't know, what you haven't been told. And that's really what happened with The Thing and with Alien. We don't see it enough. And he made sure he used Texas Chainsaw Massacre as his inspiration for that. He never saw the killer, so why not do it with Alien? Apart from he being asked, what do you intend to do with this film, with the audience, in making this film? He said, I just want to scare the shit out of them. That was his sweet motivation.
We're going to ask a couple more questions. We have a microphone over here. If anyone can start lining up. Also, I forgot to bring it up here, but I think we have a prize for the person we deem having the best question. So make it more of a question than a comment.
And nothing about the budget or the improv.
That will not be the best question. But I did want to ask you, a couple years ago, we played a film here called Lucky that you had a part in, and it was the centerpiece of that film was Harry Dean Stanton, who worked with here. Great. And I'm just wondering if you could give us your best Harry Dean Stanton story or observation about just knowing him all those years and what a great actor he was.
There's some illusion that we all get chummy and that we go away and live happily ever after together. That used to happen in the old days in Hollywood when everybody lived in Hollywood. We don't live, I lived I've been up in Seattle for 30 years. Redford hated to be in Los Angeles, so he lived in various places. Did keep a house in somewhere in LA, but we rarely went. So you just don't meet up again. Or you have your own life and you gotta mow your own lawn wherever you are. And you gotta take out your own garbage wherever you are. So that becomes, your neighborhood, wherever you live, becomes those people you get involved with. And you just fall out of touch with Harry Dean's death. I didn't see him since then. So all those years later, 30, almost 40 years later, they say, Harry, I'd like you to do this film, and I'd love to see Harry because he's one of the most pure actors. Sociably, he's not really that available. Man, when he gets acting, I've never seen anybody do what he does. At that age, 91, do you remember those lines the way he does? I'm having trouble right now. What I just said, what I said. I'm buying it.
I have to ask you, with the subsequent like Alien movies and all that, did you in any way, follow any of them? And we're not counting Aliens, all that Alien Predator crap. Like if you ever follow any, like watch any of them, like what your thoughts were on those, you have? Of the various sequels, if you.
No, I haven't.
Some of them are quite good.
I thought we just made it with the first one. And everything else. And everything else, as they do with most franchises, they're just continuing what you just saw in the with different actors. In a way, it's about scaring the hell out of people. I don't like that part of it. I don't mean to get into this morality thing here, but damn it, I'm just tired of the films. We don't go to the films much. Fortunately, we get them for the Academy Award. We can view them at home. Even at that, I don't have much time to watch all the films. But these films that are coming out are aggressive and hostile and angry. And I can't be convinced that that does not some way influence the demographic that they make for each other. 3 or 4 generations later, they're doing the same, scare the hell out of them, make them feel aggressive and angry, and it's cool. And if that doesn't affect people shooting people in the schools, if that doesn't affect people from being hostile and angry with other people on the streets, I'm sorry. It's the most influential of all movies. We can do better than that.
All right, who's that?
Can I add something? She's a little nervous. I just want to thank you for being just as sexy as women or anybody here, don't give a crap, as popcorn and alien, as you are right now to me.
She called you sexy.
Thinks you're sexy. She stole your comment, didn't she?
Did you say I'm being Tom?
She said you're very sexy.
Being Tom?
It says here as sexy as ever.
She's waiting for you outside.
She wants to know what you're doing after the
Thank you
show.
very much.
Someone's not getting a Blu-ray.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay, you're not getting the Blu-ray. Okay, yes.
Well, I have to agree with her, but anyways, you were saying. Hi. Hi, Tom. You were talking earlier about working with Redford's brother Tony Scott, and I was wondering what kind of differences did you notice between the brothers, and if you had any preference or just any quirks that you picked up on between Tony and Ridley?
Well, I learned they're both very much alike. They worked together as graphics illustrators initially, and then they had their own advertising company where they both learned how to shoot what we finally saw, but they were very close in terms of their approach to it. I learned most of that from Ridley, because we were working in the way that I could follow him around on on stage. It was less so with Tony because they were in so many locations. I couldn't observe enough, certainly not all I would love to have been able to observe with Tony. But he was very giving and very, he laughed a little easier than Ridley. Ridley was very straight, very focused on what he was doing. Tony had a little more of a sense of humor about it, but I couldn't say one is any better than the other based on those two films. They're both classics of their own right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi. So as Peter referred to in his excellent introduction, there's been a lot of academic work about the Alien movies and a lot of PhD theses about them. Some of them titled, I just did a quick Google search, Son of a Bitch, Feminism, Humanism, and Science and Alien, Reimagining the Gargoyle, Psychoanalytic Notes on Alien, Evolution and the New Frontier in Alien and Aliens, Patriarchal Co-optation of the Feminine Archetype, and so on. So I'm wondering, when you're filming the movie, do you think, there's a lot of metaphorical grist for the mill here, there's a lot going on, or do you just think, this is a scary-ass movie filmed in space, and smells like hell, and the chest burster scene, and do you think more about the potential metaphorical depths of it, or do you just focus on what's going on in front of you there?
Because I learned from Hal Ashby and Bob Altman before all this, it's always about instinct, it's all about trust. It's not an intellectual process. You can't intellectualize this stuff. You can't preconceive it. If you preceive it, you're overthinking it. If you're overthinking it, it's just not going to have that wide parameter of elasticity that happens when it's raining on a day that you want in full sun. You have to accommodate what's going on in front of you every day. So it's hard for me to really respond to the question, mainly because it's an intellectual exercise, and I don't feel that way when we're doing it. I just feel I have to position myself not as the lead in this, because I have the first name up there. I'm not going to be concerned about being a movie star at all. I'm an actor in a film who's hired, and it's a painting. This guy's a painter, particularly Ridley and Tony. So my responsibility, as far as I'm concerned, as an actor, and I'm going to get different answers from people, is to being a director and writer myself, is to position myself in the best composition that I think the director wants. And it's not an analytical thing. You just got to know what to do when there's any questions being asked in silence. That you just simply have to trust your instincts. And that's true of life. Take the risk of possibilities, push the limits of your imagination. Just go at it. That's all I know. That's all I ever will know, right up to the last day I'm breathing. So answering these questions that are intellectual are not questions I can really answer effectively. There's no black and white about this. This is just knowing in some way, instinctively, that you're in a special situation and you do the best work you possibly can, given the time that you have to do it. That's the best I can offer.
Actually, I was going to ask, if you are a fan of the many musings on Alien and its other meanings, there's a documentary that was played at Sundance called Memory. I don't know when it's coming out, but and Tom has a new interview with Tom in it about the chest burster scene in particular. But it's not a making of, it's more just like digging into all the influences that went into the screenplay, and also, some of Ridley's visual references as well. And it's phenomenal. And go see it when it opens, wherever it opens. It might open here, who knows? Okay, yes.